This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
So there are students that are getting active in foreign affairs at a young level, and I'm talking about middle school and high school, and they are learning about the United Nations through their own mock. And I remember when I attended Bartlett High School in Anchorage back in the 80s and in the 90s, there were these programs. And some students actually flew to New York City and participated in mock events, actually there where the United Nations is headquartered. And you have to admit that if you can get your kids to participate in this, I mean, it makes them not only more knowledgeable, but it brings them into a sphere of potential influence if they so choose to pursue that career. And I know that some of the kids that attend these United Nations programs, they definitely enjoy what they're doing because they get to meet other kids and they get to basically compare notes with the children from other, international places. And so my son, Grayson McGuire Anderson, is in New York City, and he is with a team of students that not only are participating in the United Nations program nationally, but they are collaborating with students from other nations. And I know Grayson mentioned one of those students being from, and he met some from Italy, and I was going through the detail. Grayson is finally able to join us. Hey, good morning, G. So you're in New York City, and I know you're on a break and you stepped out of one of the conferences there, but tell us real quick what the program is so people understand it, and maybe parents listening or grandparents in Alaska or out of state might have an interest and nudge their respective kiddos to be participating in this. Tell us how you got involved and what it is.
Yeah, it's Model UN, which is Model United Nations, and that's obviously modeled after the real United Nations. So it's taking in the operations that they have in real life in a club context. And I can't vouch to say that it's in every school, but if it is in your school, if you're listening and you have that opportunity, I'd say it's a great place to go because every person that is going to be in the club is going to be an active student. They're going to be into speaking, into discussing with other students, making writing even. It has a writing component because you're creating agreements with other nations, you're, sending proposals. It really takes into a lot of the academic facets of what a club should have. So it's a really fun opportunity.
And then with regard to the students that are in it, I mean, you're not a geek, but you're an intelligent kid. And I don't just say that because you're my son. I mean, I feel that you're pretty mainstream, you're hip, you dig social settings in school and such, and you have a lot of friends. I don't know what the measure is of someone cool or not cool. We won't go down that road. But somebody listening, I mean, this isn't just a nerd fest, right? You've got some intelligent, popular kids involved because I know, chess club and others, sometimes you look at students may not want to get into those groups. Like in Colorado, you're from Alaska, but you're in Colorado right now. Literally, right. You're in New York City. But I mean, who is involved in your particular high school? And I don't mean the names as much as, is it a group that can deal with communications, and are they normal kids?
It's funny, Asa. I always say, I'm kind of starting to become more of a club leader in my school at least. And one of the things I always say is that you can be the most intelligent person in the world. You can have the knowledge that you would need, but if you don't speak, you're not gonna have any place in the conference. You're not gonna win, and no one's gonna know your opinion, your thoughts, your intelligence level. So really, it takes a kind of a person that's not always, of course, but is extroverted and is willing to get out. And like you said, it's not just nerds, and it's not just kind of people that are crazy intelligent, because they have to be diplomatic. They have to be speaking at a level where others can hear their opinion and kind of collaborate with them. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot of different kinds of people, yeah.
And you won in Colorado for your school. You won, and one of the examples was you were chosen to be Vietnam, and it was a gun control issue, gun rights issue, and you researched Vietnam, and you had to represent as if you were from Vietnam, and then you delved into that issue. And rather than getting into the meat and potatoes of the specific issue, what was the process in which you won that in Colorado before you went to New York City? So, I mean, you dealt with other kids, and what you were favored in your speech, in your plea to the issue?
Well, it works on different levels. You research beforehand, and you've got, maybe a week period of time where you're learning about your issue, learning about your country, your history, your stance, if you will, what your country would support coming into legislation, and then you get in, and it's difficult when you get a smaller country. Vietnam it's difficult to work with them. Not particularly versed on Vietnam law, but it does get you out into the real world in terms of learning about other nations. And I've probably been to 6 conferences now, including the one that I'm here. I think I have benefited in terms of learning about international law and cultural things. There have been laws that I've seen in terms of my research on very arbitrary things in terms of leadership positions. And I believe in one time I was in Morocco, and I was speaking on how leadership is such an important role in Morocco, in the sense that you're not supposed to speak really to bosses. You're really taught to be kind of bow down to them and kind of exactly right. So it was very interesting.
Now, you are there in New York, and there are New York City kids, students from the state and from the city, and then you're Colorado and Alaskan, and then you've got foreigners. And you had mentioned yesterday to me off air that you saw a lot of Italians there. And what other countries are attending the United Nations, the student national event in New York City right now, beyond the Italians?
Well, yeah. It was funny. I definitely didn't expect. I presumed it would be, mostly well-versed Americans, especially being in New York. But I actually met an Italian the other day that said, I didn't even know that Americans were supposed to be here. I thought this was an Italian-only conference. I was like, Italian-only? What do you mean?
Yeah, in New York City. That's funny. Exactly, but what other countries? I mean, any Germans, any Argentinians, any from Africa? Who else is coming? It costs money, so...
is India is actually the second one that I've met. There's a lot of international students from India, very smart, of course, and what I've learned is that many of them are, they have an Indian accent, and they probably speak an Indian language, but they migrated to the United States at, a young age, so 14, 13. Some of the people I've been talking to, I was saying, oh, you speak English very well. He's like, yeah, I've lived in America, 5 years, 4 years.
Okay.
So there's definitely a lot of international citizens.
And you've had pizza there, and I know you're going to do the deli, and you're probably going to do a Subway, and you've been to New York City before, but Grayson's Mr. Traveler, mostly thanks to his mom, Senator McGuire, but I appreciate the fact that you are, and you've traveled alone many a time now. In this case, you went with your fellow students. Now, remind everybody your age and what grade you're in.
16 now. That was pretty recent. March 2nd was my birthday, so now 16, but I'm in 10th grade right now, so, I haven't been in that long, and you can see that there's been as many opportunities as I've gone to that I've attended, so it's really kind of an all-ages thing, and I'm kind of saying that as a beacon call to all the people that are sitting there thinking, should I join clubs? I see Model UN. It's kind of a welcome there, in the sense that you're really going to get out, and it's not an age thing, it's a learning thing. So.
Absolutely. Well, Grayson McGuire Anderson, I love you, and I'm appreciative of the fact that you called in while you're traversing New York City at the United Nations. So keep up the big work. I'm very proud of you. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Love you. See you soon.
Okay, you betcha. That's Grayson McGuire Anderson, my kiddo. And he's at the United Nations, and I think that he's doing a great job there. I'm very proud of him. Folks, enjoy your Monday. Tom Steigelman, I'm glad you're back in the saddle. Charlie Kirk is next up. Stay with us, and God bless.